Well, I had the great opportunity of meeting Congressman John McCain in Washington. C. Hallett was back there, and I was visiting, and he said, you need to meet this congressman, this young maverick, full of energy. And I said, oh yeah? He says, besides that, he's going to become president of the United States one of these days, so you need to meet him. I said, okay. So we met in Virginia at my apologies. It was rough getting up here. Alexandria. Cindy and CA and myself, and we had dinner in this nice little restaurant. And we chatted for a while, and then all of a sudden, with John McCain, you just bond. I mean, there's something about his energy level that goes up. He starts talking, starts asking me about my background. Of course, I, not knowing him that well, asked him about his, and before I knew it, we felt very comfortable with each other going back and forth. So then I got enough nerve to ask him. I said, Congressman, what was it that allowed you to be in a prisoner of war camp? I mean, what kept you together? And he said, well, he goes, you know, most people ask me how they treated me, and obviously they treated me pretty bad. He goes, but he said, one is my faith in God, my love for my family, and my faith in my country. He said, those things kept me together. So we kept talking that evening, and as I thought about that discussion, and for this talk, I wanted to reflect with you a reading from Corinthians 13, which I think captures Senator John McCain. Corinthians 13. Though I should give away to the poor all that I possess, and even give up my body to be burned, if I am without love, it will do me no good whatever. When you think about an individual like Senator McCain, who suffered, who was in prison, was injured, and yet with all that, was able to keep his faith together, his focus on his country, focus on his family. I believe that period of time, those 5 years, is where God molded this fantastic hero, where God took an opportunity to humble this young man who came from a military family. God used those minutes, those hours, those days, those years to put together a human being that we'll be talking about the senator for generations. John McCain was a person who loved with his energy, who loved all of us, who loved his country. That evening while we were having dinner, he said, when we get back to Phoenix, we need to get together and have dinner. And of course, back then I was pretty cocky. So I said, well, Congressman, I know a number of congressmen and I know a couple of senators, and you know, we always hear that. He says, well, no, when you get back, you give me a date and I'll be there. I said, well, I want to invite you to my house. Us Mexican Americans love to cook, and we love to have folks at our homes if you're really going to be a friend. And he chuckled. So a couple of months later, when I got back home, we called, set up a dinner at the house. And of course, I was preparing carne asada, frijolitos, arroz, tortillas, and all the stuff that you all know about. And my homemade salsa. And I get a call from his office. They say he's running late. So I asked, what's the problem? I said, well, it's his birthday. He wanted to spend a little bit of time with his family. Sorry, Cindy. And of course, I panic and say, you know, if he wants to cancel, I understand, please. They said, no, he made it very clear to us, he's going to your house tonight to have dinner. So I scrambled and got a mariachi group. I figured I got to do something really good. Mexican food's not going to get me there. And luckily they got there about 10 minutes before he arrived. So when Cindy and the congressman that walk into my house, the kitchen, the mariachi started playing. They singing the Mañanitas, which is a traditional Mexican birthday song in our culture. And of course, John and Cindy lit up, and it was a great evening, and we enjoyed the night. That's Senator John McCain. Keeps his word. That's the senator that we've had all these years that sometimes we beat up on. That's the senator that I hope people can embrace what he stood for our country. And yes, he was a maverick. In his first senatorial campaign, I get a call, and it's him on the phone. I'm with Father Tony, a dear friend of mine, and they say you got the congressman on the phone. I don't know how he tracked me down, but we're in a restaurant. So I get the phone, and he says, sorry, I'm running for the USA. I'm going to launch, blah, blah, blah. You know, John, he was going 100 miles an hour. So I'm going like, okay. And they says, I want you to co-chair my campaign. I said, well, John, you know I'm a Democrat. I'm not sure that's going to help you with your Republican campaign. I said, I don't care, you're my friend. I want you to co-chair. I said, well, let me sleep on it. No. You give me an answer right now, yes or no? And of course I said yes. Once again, Senator John McCain goes over to the other side. And don't forget, I was like an activist back then. I was running Chicanos por la Causa. I mean, we were not the most liberal organization or the most conservative organization in the country. And we go back and forth with John, you either were a friend or not. And at the end of the day, we could go a couple of years without seeing each other, but when we did, it was like old home week. I mean, he was warm, he was energy. I mean, he was going 100 miles an hour, but yet he made time to be with you. And then the second time, we get a call, Elvira and I, to come to Las Vegas, and this is, of course, when he's in his presidential campaign. And we end up in Las Vegas with his two right-hand folks that have always run his campaigns, which I have the greatest respect for. So we do the quick chit-chat, and then John says, I want you to speak on my behalf at the Republican convention. I said, Senator, I want to remind you I'm a Democrat. I don't care. I want you there. So you're my friend, I want you there. I said, yes, I'll be there. He said, well, he says, with a big smile on his face, watch out when you start your car. I said, okay, Senator, I'll do that. So John kind of put me out in the national scene, and I must confess, he did a number of things that I could stand here all day and share with you different stories. I will tell you that one time when we met is when Megan was on the TV program, and I don't even remember the name of the TV program, Megan, but he said, well, you know, Megan's on TV now, blah, blah, blah. I go, yeah, okay. Do you see her? No, Senator, I don't watch TV that much. Well, you start watching her. Okay. So that was our great senator. As we were walking out, he asked my wife, Elvira, he says, Elvira, I got a question for you. If I put a woman on our ticket as vice president, what do you think about that? Well, my wife isn't the type that holds back. She's a Mexican from Mexico City, and they have a tendency of just telling you how it is. And of course, the senator liked that. So she turns and she says, well, I really don't care if it's a man or a woman. If something happens to you, I want to make sure that person can run the country. So John looked at her and says, okay. And he looked at his two guys, and of course we walked out. Needless to say, we heard later who had selected. But again, regardless, there was the senator again, taking the risk of putting forth a woman for vice president of this great country of ours. So it's of no surprise. It's of no surprise also that he got together with Kennedy to push for immigration reform. Because when he talked about immigration, it wasn't so much the politics of it. He would say, you know what, I can't believe these families that come from another country, from Mexico, from Central America to work, cutting our grass, feeding us, bringing in the labor force that we need, and now we turn on them? That really struck at the heart of what he thought our great country was about. I believe it cost him a presidential campaign. So to me, it's very dear what the senator is about. To me, John really did reflect our country in its true form. My father is a Marine, passed away in February. Once a Marine, always a Marine, he'd say. Got wounded in Guam, Purple Heart. When he talked about John McCain, he said, he understands us. He understands us. And I must confess, he did understand us. He understood all of us, whether it was white, black, brown, Asian. To him, it didn't make any difference. What he knew is that we all make America great. We all make America great. So I hope that in his legacy, the senators, governors, mayors, city council members, elected officials embrace the thought of love, because John reflected love and love of a strong man. And that is nowadays hard to come by. So his legacy will go on for generations, because people will talk about Senator John McCain as one of the greatest heroes in our lifetime. And with that, if you permit me, read Timothy 2. As for me, my life is already being poured away as a libation, and the time has come for me to depart. I have fought the good fight to the end. I have run the race to the finish. I have kept the faith. My dear friend, vaya con Dios.